Okay, good day everyone. So today we'll be discussing about emission reduction innovations in our power plant diesel subject. Okay, so this will be our learning outcome. Describe the innovations relating to the reduction of greenhouse effect from the carbon emissions of the marine diesel propulsion plant. So we will be discussing about scrubbers, the WESP and CCS and Maritime Just Transition Decarbonization 2050 and other um, innovations relating to the reduction of greenhouse effect. Okay, so let's start. Okay, keep calm. Engineers will save the world. Are you superheroes? Maybe. Okay, so recap on our previous discussion. We have discussed about energy and efficiency innovations for diesel engines. Okay, so we will be focusing more on the exhaust system and the fuel system. Okay, so SOx emissions. So SOx or sulfur oxides contained in fuel oil oxidizes during, so sulfur contained in fuel oil oxidizes during the combustion. So ito yung effect ng ating sulfur emission. So SO2 or SO3 are collectively known as SOx. So SOx na yan lahat. So sulfur oxide is the major component of SOx in the exhaust gases. So SOx is a major contributor to acid rain and smog. So ito yung effect ng, so this is the effect of the acid rain. Okay, so our ships have emissions. And these emissions will create this oxygen gas plus water plus sulfur oxide is equals to hydrogen or sulfuric acid. Yeah, those sulfuric acid can affect our plant, our environment, our crops. There are many effects. So we have that one. Okay. So SOx is another one of the problem of from our emissions. We have also this particulate matter, this one. So hot exhaust, soot, and metallic ash particles. So these particles, when diluted air dilution and cooling, so new particles for growth, homogeneous nucleation, absorption, condensation. So this will affect also. So particulate matter consists of incomplete combustion elements known as soot, oxidized metal elements from fuel and lube oil known as ash. So these are also emissions from our gases. Okay. So this is the chemical itself. And another one we have carbon or black carbon is a form of ultrafine particulate matter. It is estimated that 22% of the BC is emitted by shipping. So it contributes to the accelerated ice loss in the Arctic. Yeah, Arctic Ocean. In 2021, that IMO adopted a resolution to urge ship owners to use diesel or alternative fuels when sailing in the Arctic. Ooh, black carbon's warming effect is at least 3 times higher in the Arctic Ocean. So black carbon is 3,200 times more powerful a climate forcer than carbon dioxide per ton. This black carbon. So in MARPOL Annex 6 Regulation 18, we have the bunker delivery note. So this is the certificate given after bunkering. So you will have here your product gravity density, how many barrels per metric tons or metric tons have you ordered. Okay, so these are the bunker delivery note. So the bunker delivery note shall contain the sulfur content So here we have the sulfur content, so that we will know if your fuel has too much sulfur. Shall be kept on board the ship and available for inspection. Shall be retained for a period of 3 years after the fuel has been delivered on board. Shall be accompanied by a sealed, so ito sealed and signed representative sample of the fuel oil delivered. The sample to be retained on board for a period of not less than 12 months. This is the sulfur. Okay, MARPOL Annex Regulation 14, sulfur oxides and particulate matter. So the sulfur content of any fuel oil used on board ships shall not exceed 0.5% mass per mass. So in emission control areas, ECA, the sulfur content shall not exceed 0.1 or 0.10% mass per mass. Ooh, so small. So these are the ECA areas. We have here, we have in the EU, Hong Kong and China, and also in America, have ECA areas in there. So regulation 14.6, changeover procedure, entering or leaving SECA areas. If you will enter SECA areas, so in case vessel has different fuel oils to comply with emission standards, there shall be written procedures how fuel oil changeover should be carried out. Changeover should allow sufficient time for the fuel or oil service system to be fully flushed before entering SECA. So if you will be entering a SECA area, so 1 hour before or 2 hours before you enter it, you must start changing your fuel, which should be compliant with the SOX regulation in your SECA area. So details of changeover must be recorded. So you should have a record of it, because the inspectors will look for it. We have the Marine Fuel Sulfur Record Book. So you put the SECA area, like for example, North Sea, date and time of entry into SECA, date and time changeover completed, position of ship at which changeover is completed. So you will call the bridge for the latitude and longitude of the position, volume of low sulfur fuel remaining per tank, and the signature of the chief engineer and signature of the master with the date. So fuel oil tank management. So SOLAS chapter 2-1 regulation 26 paragraph 11 requires that for each fuel type there shall be 2 service tanks with a capacity of at least 8 hours for operating main engine at maximum continuous rating and normal electric load at sea. So these are for ships constructed since 1st July of 1998. So 2 different service tanks for different types of fuel. For example, we have here HFO service tank 1, capacity at least 8 hours, service tank 2, and diesel oil tank. Or you have HFO service tank and MDO service tank. So this MDO, you will be using this on SECA areas. Another configuration, 2 types of HFO, 2 types of DO service tank, or 1 HFO, 1 MD, and 2 diesel oil service tank. And then if you total this DO service tank, 4 hours, 4 hours plus 4 hours equals to 8 hours. Or you can at minimum 8 hours both, so you can also do 8 hours each tank. Okay, so this is another. We have HFO bunker tank, DO bunker tank, and gas oil bunker tank. So 3 different bunker tank for 3 different types of fuel. We have to transfer it to a settling tank. So separate settling tanks for different types of fuel, and then purifier for different types of fuel, and a service tank, 1 or 2. Let's be 8 hours of use. So usually the gas oil day tank is already clean, so they don't usually put it on a settling tank anymore. So you can also use this. So fuel oil tank management. So 2, storage, settling, and service. So fuel type 2, service. Fuel type 3, fuel type 4, going to the main engine. Or you can have this one, fuel type A, B, C, but this is not really used on board. We usually have separate settling tanks for different types of fuel, especially if you have HFO and other much cleaner oil. You cannot mix them. Okay, changeover procedure. So depending on fuel oil tank management calculation needs to be made for time needed to complete changeover procedure. So for example, if you have the version 3.0, if you have HFO in the settling tank at start of changeover, 0 tons, start change of 10 tons, so you will have rate of fuel consumption is 1.33 tons per hour. So if you will have to click on yellow box and select required sulfur, it's 1. Changeover time for compliance is 22.4 hours. So this will be your changeover time for compliance. So 22 hours before entering a SECA area, or so this is just an example. 2.4 hours before entering the SECA areas. So you should start you should be done on changing over your fuel. So depending on fuel oil tank management calculation needs to be made for time needed to complete changeover procedure. If settling and day tank needs to be cleaned, this may take days. Drain settling tank and fill up with LSFO and let it rest for 2 days before operating purifier. Flow-through method may be used to clean day tank. Pump 3 times the capacity LSFO into a day tank to get exchange rate with HSFO of more than 95%. Changeover procedure. Changeover from high viscosity fuel to low viscosity fuel means lowering the temperature. So injection equipment needs protection against rapid temperature changes to avoid gassing of fuel, which may cause the loss of power. So we have discussed this one, that if there is air or gas, or there is gas that enters into our fuel injection system, since air is compressible, so there might be a so our injection might not be activated anymore because of the gas, and it may cause loss of power or stopping of the engine. The changeover should be carried out at low load, 25 to 40% of the maximum continuous rating. The fuel temperature gradient should not exceed 2 degrees Celsius per minute. So if you have from 125 degrees Celsius down to 30, or let's say 25 degrees Celsius, so you have 100 degrees Celsius. So that 100 degrees Celsius can be changeover procedure for that is minimum 50 minutes. Okay, but usually it takes an hour or more to change over from HFO to a lower or to diesel oil, for example. So changeover from low viscosity fuel to high viscosity fuel means increasing the temperature. So if you change naman from low viscosity to high viscosity naman, you have to increase temperature. So extra care should be taken as warm fuel will flow to cold component. So material will expand slightly. So fuel pump plunger will warm up first as barrel contains more material. Decrease in clearance, risk of seizure increases. So when we usually change over the from low temperature fuel to high temperature fuel, you will see that there will be a sudden, if you will not change over gradually, so there will be sudden temperature rise, and then the material will expand, and then leakages will happen into the pumps, fuel pumps, and other parts of the connections, or if there are gaskets, there will be leakages. So be careful. Okay, HFO MDO changing valves we have here. This is an automatic changing valve. This one. This is the HFO and the MDO. Okay, so if you activate this one, you put air in this valve control box. So air pressure 6 bar. So this valve will move the two valves. So it will change valve 1 from DO to HFO, and this will be the inlet to the engine. So you can use, if you have two engines, like for example, we have the main engine and we have, if we have an engine, so the inlet and the outlet will both be will be activated in changing over. So it's not possible that you have HFO inlet and then the outlet will be DO, because your HFO will contaminate the DO tank. But if from DO here to HFO, well, it doesn't hurt much with the HFO, but the the diesel oil is much expensive than the HFO, so it will also be the price will matter also. So this is automatic changeover, and usually in this one, using the automatic changeover, so usually they make changeover for an hour, or depending on the time the program is adjusted, depending on the how long will it take to change over from from one fuel to another. Okay, MARPOL Annex 6 Regulation 14.8 to 13, in-use fuel oil sampling. So we have fuel tank, we have fuel sampling point in here, and going to the engine. So if you want to have a sample of your fuel going to the engine, so you can get a sample from here. Here, verification by authorities if compliant fuel is used on board. So the authorities can get a sample here. Sampling point to be fitted downstream of in-use fuel oil service tank, as close as possible to the machinery, be clearly marked and described in piping diagram or other relevant documentation. So here we have here the engine, we have here the sample fuel oil sample points. So you can get a sample for the residual fuel or the distillate, or the cleaner one, distillate fuel. Residual is more on the HFO side. Okay, so from the tank, service tank, to a supply pump, circulating pump, going to the engine. Also, we have the generator. Again, getting back to the venting tank or the mixing tank with the recirculation, the recirculating pumps. Okay, MARPOL Annex 6 Regulation 4 equivalence ships may be fitted with equipment, alternative fuels, or compliance method used as an alternative, which are at least as effective in terms of emission reduction as required by Annex 6, including Regulation 13 and 14. So in here, they have an open loop exhaust gas cleaning system. So this might be, this is a scrubber, open loop scrubber. Exhaust gas cleaning systems. So conversion from sulfur content fuel to a SOx emission in exhaust gases. So SOx emissions are derived from the sulfur content of the fuel. So similar for the carbon dioxide emissions, the SOx or CO2 ratio gives a clear measure of the sulfur content of the fuel. So this is the ratio of the sulfur oxide, SOx, and carbon dioxide. So treatment processes, we have the SOx. Systems can be divided in wet exhaust gas cleaning system or dry exhaust gas cleaning system. For the wet exhaust gas cleaning system, we have the open loop scrubber, closed loop scrubber, and the hybrid scrubber, which is the combination of the two. So we will discuss this one by one. And we have the dry exhaust gas cleaning system, another alternative, which is not usually commonly used on ships. So this is scrubber system. So exhaust from the engine will go through a scrubber, and then when the smoke goes up, there is a shower-like exhaust gas cleaning unit in here. So shower, seawater will be showered in here, and then the seawater will, or the wash water will go to a wash water treatment, where you will separate the residue, and then the seawater you can put back to the sea. Okay, So this is an open loop scrubber. It's a once-through process. Seawater is used for exhaust gas cleaning. So after treatment, water is discharged back to the sea. So the natural chemical composition of seawater is used to neutralize the results of the SOx removal. So we have a pump in here, suction, and then that seawater will be pumped or will shower in the scrubber. When exhaust gas in, and then the exhaust gas will be cleaned or scrubbed, exhaust will go up. So the seawater will go to a wash water treatment where you separate the residue, and then the wash water, the clean wash water, you can dump it back to the sea. Also, you can use this another seawater for engine cooling duties if you use seawater also. But some ships usually use fresh water. So this is the open loop scrubber. So scrubbing media is seawater. On average, seawater has a salinity of about 3.5%. So combination of sulfur oxide plus H2O is equals to H2SO3, H plus, HSO3 plus, minus. Usually you have a sulfuric acid. Leaches in here, scrubber, and then discharge pipe. Okay, how about for the closed loop scrubber? So for the closed loop scrubber, fresh water treated with alkaline chemical, sodium hydroxide, is used for exhaust gas cleaning. The majority of wash water is recirculated. Small quantity of wash water is bled off to a treatment plant before discharge to the sea. So let's go how this works. So we have here a pump. We have here the process tank, in which in the process tank you get the fresh water, and then we have a chemical dosing pump in here that we add chemical to the fresh water. It goes to a cooler since the water in here is slightly hot, so goes to a cooler, and then pumped up to the scrubber, sprayed on the top of the scrubber, and then exhaust gas in, and then scrubbed exhaust gas out. And then the processed water is going to a process tank, and then you clean it. So the clean one you can recirculate and use it back to the scrubber, and then the dirty one you can have a separator, purifier, separator, what they usually use, and then the residue will go to a tank, while the fresh water or the clean water will be going to a holding tank. If you will be far away from the shore, or if you are in a safe area, not in a SECA areas or ECA areas, or in an area where you can pump this water out, so you can pump it out, but you cannot pump it near the shore. And then if you want to add water, you have this clean water makeup. Okay, so we just use this chemical addition to neutralize the acidity of the processed water, sodium hydroxide. So in theory, in chemical process, we have this SO2 plus sodium plus OH, because this is from sodium hydroxide, and then you will have this out product, sodium, I don't know how to read this one, sodium hydroxide, whatever. Okay, then you have here the sodium and water, so it will be this one. So how for the hybrid scrubber we have the combination of the both open loop operation and the closed loop operation. So if you want to use the open loop operation when you are at sea, you can have this open loop suction of seawater going to the scrubber and then out to the sea. Then if you are in near coastal areas or shore, or going through ports, So you can change over also. Seawater is used in open waters where alkalinity is high enough. So chemical addition is used in enclosed waters to avoid discharges do not affect sensitive areas with little water exchange. If you want to use the closed loop operation, you can still use the seawater to cool the cooler and then go back overboard. And then while there is a fresh water in here, processed water with a chemical, then going to the scrubber and then return to the process with a separator and a holding tank. Okay, so this is the combination of the two. We have the hybrid scrubber. So in closed loop mode, hybrid scrubbers use seawater or fresh water depending on system design. So hybrid scrubber, this is the hybrid scrubber. And then this is suction going up here and cooler, whatever. And then going to the scrubber, and then the scrubber will go back. A pump in here, and then going up, going down. Okay, so you can have this induction Seneca bed. Okay, so this is the Transsenica. They've used installed scrubber in this case. So coming to this one. So you can look for a scrubber system from Alfa Laval online video. So let's talk about wash water. So most exhaust gas cleaning systems use water to remove SOx and particulate matters from the exhaust gases. So wash water should be monitored in following parameters. So we should check the pH. It should not be too acidic for the seawater, or if you want pump it out the sea. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, and the turbidity. It should not be turbid, or it should not be like dirty water. It should be clear. Okay, monitoring instrumentation. So we have here the monitoring instrumentation. pH, PAH, and turbidity, salinity, optional. You can put it here. 1, 2, and 3. And then another for number 4 here. So for SO2 and carbon dioxide emission, position 4. Position 3 before discharge after any pH correction here. And then position 2 also here, PAH and turbidity. So we have also position 1. This is the inlet of the wash water system. So pH, the maximum difference between the pH of the wash water inlet and outlet is set at 2. So when the vessel is stationary, the pH of the wash water outlet should be no less than 6.5. In and out. pH in and pH out is less than or equal to 2. So there should be a maximum of 2, pH of 2 rise on the right or lower down. Because acidic is going down. Less than or equal. Okay. So pH density monitor. So we have here an HMI. An HMI in which you can check the pH, the density, and the temperature of your wash water. So next we'll go with the pH, not set at less than or equal to 2. Okay. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon (PAH) are a large group of organic compounds with 2 or more aromatic rings or elements in fossil fuels that are also produced during incomplete combustion. So PAH are toxic and are part of the PM which should be removed from the wash water. So continuous PAH monitoring must ensure that the treatment removing PM is effective. Okay. So we have here So since pH is toxic, we should remove it from the water. Turbidity is a measure of the degree to which water loses its transparency. If it's not transparent, then it's turbid. The more total suspended solids, the hazier it becomes. So combined with pH, turbidity measurement is an effective means to monitor the removal of particulate matters from wastewater. So we have a pH value in here. Okay, so there are different types of wet scrubber. So we have here the spray open tower. The exhaust goes onto the shower and then goes out. And the wash water goes out, down. We have the cyclonic type, in which exhaust goes here, is creating a cyclone type or hurricane, and then goes up. Then while it moves, there is a wash water that is spraying, so that the emissions will be, or impurities will be, will go to the side of the funnel. We have also the packed bed, which is just goes here. There's a packed bed in here, and then a wash water inlet. Okay, we have the wet bath, in which exhaust flow inside here goes down through a wash water bath and then goes out cleaned. Okay, and then wash water outlet on the bottom. We have also the bubble plate type. So exhaust flows into the plates, and then a wash water inlet spray goes inside on the sidewards, and then the exhaust will be cleaned. We have also the venturi type, in which the exhaust flow goes down through a venturi, or a special space, a smaller space going bigger on the outlet. Inlet goes smaller, and then outlet goes bigger. And then there's a wash water inlet at the center. So the exhaust will be, the flow of the exhaust will create suction the wash water inlet, and then the exhaust will be cleaned. Okay, let's go with the materials for wet sock scrubbers. So we have a top coat, we have a wall, and a liner inside. So usually the liner is 30% glass or epoxy, and then the wall is 70% glass, 30% epoxy, and top coat is 100% epoxy. So warm acidic seawater at pH 3 corrodes ferrous and non-ferrous metals. So to ensure long service life, alloys like stainless steels, titanium, or non-metallic glass reinforced epoxy are used. So they are usually not using ferrous, or they are using stainless steel, titanium, or non-metallic like glass reinforced epoxy. But if you will not use this material, so what will happen is this one will be damaged, more corrosion. Okay, on 2029 guidelines for exhaust gas screening systems, scrubber guideline, rules for testing, survey, certification, approval, and monitoring should be there. Differentiates between EGCS according to Scheme A and Scheme B. So Scheme A is ECGS SOx, unit type, approval, and certification. Scheme B is continuous monitoring of SOx emission. So sample of Scheme B continuous monitoring SOx. So we have here our scrubbers emissions status for Wärtsilä. So they have here the so when there is an alarm too high PAH, so automatic the scrubber will stop. Effluent discharge overboard, not overboard, overboard. So there is a data in here. This one will be checked by the authority. Malfunction of EGCS. So we have also troubleshooting malfunction of this one. IMO document MEPC1 circle 883 revision 1 states any EGCS malfunction that lasts more than 1 hour or repetitive malfunction should be reported to the flag administration and the port states administration, along with an explanation of the steps the ship operator is taking to address the failure. If there is any failure, you should report it. If it's more than 1 hour, it's repetitive. So Apart from the wet scrubber, we have also the dry scrubber. So this is an example of a dry scrubber. We have a granulated calcium hydroxide on the center. So where depart from the engine, it goes to, so we have an option. We can have it bypass the system, or we can use the dry scrubber. So going to the dry scrubber system, so there is no water in this type of system. So this is dry type. So granulated calcium hydroxide, and then that calcium hydroxide will convert the will change the SOx. And then additional, we have urea injection in here. Inject urea to a selective catalytic reduction. Goes to a fan, and then goes to the funnel. So granulated calcium hydroxide is used for scrubbing, operates at high temperature, removes both SOx and particulate matter. It's not commonly used on board ships because this is usually used on industries, land industries, or big industries on land. So this is the dry scrubber. Goes to a SCR. Still, they will use SCR. And then this one is the granulate. Okay, so but there is also a ban on the use of open loop scrubbers. Since introduction to open loop scrubbers, more and more coastal states and ports worldwide are banning the use of these scrubbers. So UNCLOS articles are used to support this claim. So they want to ban the use of open loop scrubbers if you are near coastal states or ports. So that's why we have to convert to closed loop operation or closed loop scrubber. So that's why hybrid scrubbers are most common nowadays. Turning an air pollution problem, SOx, into an ocean pollution problem. So this PAH, the SOx, iron, chromium, mercury, nickel, cadmium, zinc, vanadium goes into the sea, in which it is a wastewater. So that's why they're banning the use of open loop scrubbers. So nowadays, the open loop has 81% is open used on board ship. So now they are converting it to hybrid. Since introduction of open loop scrubbers, more and more coastal states and ports worldwide are banning the use of these scrubbers. So UNCLOS articles are used to support this claim. So these are the places in which green is banned use of open loop scrubbers, and orange is restricted. Okay, so the Philippines not part of it. Okay, but if you go to these ports, you should convert, or you should change over to closed loop scrubber. We have in the EU, in France, Germany, Romania, and other parts. We have a ban and restriction. Egypt, Turkey, Saudi, Kenya, Mozambique, Nakala, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Brazil, China, Malaysia. So evidence that sulfur regulation reduced air pollution from shipping from NASA study. So less sulfur emissions means fewer aerosol particles released to form detectable ship tracks. So lowering the sulfur content has weakened the masking effect, effectively giving a boost to warming up the seawater. The likely side effect of the 2020 regulations is an increase of global temperatures of around 0.05 degrees Celsius by 2050. So that is a big a very small or a big improvement. 17 years of daytime images from 2003 to 2020. So this is and what is happening. The anomaly is in here. Ooh. So these are the parts with damaged ozone. more likely, or clouds below. So we are in an ECA, low sulfur matches place. So we should also use low sulfur matches. Okay, so that's it for sulfur oxides. More on scrubber systems. Okay, so that's our so up next we will be discussing, or the next video we will be discussing on NOx or nitrogen oxides. What are the innovations that we've done to decrease this emission on board our ship? Okay, so thank you very much for your time, and God bless. See you on our next video. Bye bye.